My name is Gary Richins. I'm a consultant that teaches time management. I've been teaching time management and using the Franklin Planner and teaching the mechanics of the Franklin Planner for almost 35 years now, and have been able to benefit from watching the planner change and come up with forms that I use now that weren't there originally. And I've been able to teach this within organizations, mostly in the US, but really all over the world. And it's been a pleasure for me to be able to do this. So I'm honored to be able to share this with you today, something that's very close to my heart, but will help you if you use it the way it's designed to be used and customize it specifically for you, will make you deadly. 21 days from today, if you, we're going to promise that you'll experience a marked and measurable increase in your personal and professional productivity. And there's the caveat, if you do your part, which is to apply the principles and practices that we talk about as we go through the session today. Okay, so I want to have you each have some pink Post-it notes. You have 2 of them. On the top one, I want to have you finish this statement. If time were no obstacle, someday I would, and then you get to finish it. So the question becomes, is time an obstacle? So this thing, time we're talking, let's define it a little bit. What is time? I've never heard the word before. I need you to define it for me briefly, if you would, please.
Hours in a day.
Rachel?
Hours in a day.
Hours in a day. So time is hours in a day. Okay, great start. Add to that.
Something I don't have enough of.
Okay, don't have enough of this, whatever it is.
Life.
Time is life.
The moments.
Okay, so moments. Are moments parts of time?
Pieces, yeah.
Pieces, okay.
A measurement of my day.
A measurement of my day. So time is a measurement. Okay. St. Augustine says this when asked that same question. He said, for what is time? Who is able easily and briefly to explain it? Surely we understand it well enough when we speak of it. What then is time? If nobody asks me, I know. But if I were desirous to explain it to someone, plainly, I know not. Do you relate? Right? When we talk about time, what is this thing, time, that we're talking about? The dictionary, Webster's dictionary, says time is a continuum in which events succeed one another from past through present to future. Okay, so it's this continuous, ongoing thing where events follow each other, right, in sequence. So the basic element of time is an event, right? What's an event? Go, Mallory.
Something that's happening in your life that might be significant.
Okay, so it's a significant happening.
Yeah.
Okay, good start. Anyone else? What's an event?
Something that's planned.
Something planned. So events aren't unplanned.
It can be.
It can be
Give me an example of an event.
a wedding,
A wedding,
vacation,
vacation.
Dishes.
I'm sorry?
Dishes.
Dishes. Doing the dishes is an event, right?
All of that. Car crash.
Is sitting here today an event? Car crash is an event? Is getting up this morning an event? More for some of us than others, right? Everything's an event, isn't it? So time is this continuum with these events, things that happen in our lives, one after the other. Okay, well, here's what we're going to focus on as we go through the course of the day. 3 segments. First, we're going to talk about time management. That's the basic concept, right? But we're going to focus on more event control. Do we manage time? Sort of. Or do we manage events that we fill the time with?
Yes.
Right? So time management is a misnomer, right? Time is how much time it takes for the sun to come up in the east and go down in the west. Do you have any control over that? No, so we don't control time. We control the events that we fill the time with. Okay, then we'll focus on the productivity pyramid. Building the productivity pyramid, which gives us the foundation for why we even use a planner. What are the things that are most important? And then we'll talk about the planning system. How do I use my Franklin planner to give me the best leverage to get the most important things done? Now I'm going to have you draw some pictures. You're doing great taking notes. I'm going to have you draw some pictures. We go through, you get to practice your artwork. So when I read this the first time, it really hit me in the face because I related to it. The Runaround Dilemma says this: because we don't know what's really important to us, everything seems important. Because everything seems important, we have to do everything. Other people, unfortunately, see us doing everything, so they expect us to do everything. And doing everything keeps us so busy we don't have time to think about what's most important to us. You ever get in that dilemma? Right? So we want to focus on what's most important. Those are the things that need to get done. We have so much to get done today, right? With technology, we get so much more information than we ever received before. So we have so much more we need to do. Are we ever going to be able to get it all done? When you think about all the stuff that you need to do in a given day, will you ever be able to get it all done?
Yeah.
So what needs to get done? The most important. So we're coming back to the importance issue here. Okay, so let's define important. The Oxford English Dictionary defines important as carrying with it serious consequences, weighty, momentous, grave, and significant. So if something is important, it has value to us. Do you agree? So importance is value driven. Urgency, on the other hand, pressing, compelling, calling for, or demanding immediate action. So urgencies scream now. So they are time driven. So the difference between the two, importance is value driven, urgency is time driven. Now the time matrix, we're going to set this up and talk about how these relate to each other, dealing with things that need to get done. Okay, now notice on the time matrix, on the upside, on the vertical side, on the upside, you will have importance. Horizontal across the top, you'll have urgency. Okay, you're all drawing this box, right? All you need to do is draw a large square. Take up as much room on you. If you want to use a whole page for this, feel free to do that. Use as much room as you need. I think Dale might be breaking out their straight edges and drawing the lines. You can free draw this. You're the only ones looking at it. Okay, so draw the square, draw the line from the center down and then from the center up across. So you have 4 quadrants. Now, as you're doing that, let me define the quadrants for us. Everything above the horizontal line is important. Everything to the left of the vertical line is urgent. Okay, let's walk through the quadrants. Quadrant 1 is both urgent and important. It screams at us, but it's also valuable for us. We call quadrant 1 the quadrant of necessity. Necessary that we take care of these things because of the importance of them, but they also need to be done now. Quadrant 3 below that also screams at me, but this is not important. This is called the quadrant of deception. These are the things that deceive you into thinking they're important just because they scream. Quadrant 4. These things are not urgent, nor are they important. This is called the quadrant of waste. Another word I like here is excess. Things that I do to excess are in quadrant 4, not urgent nor important. What are some things we do to excess?
Social media.
Communication on the phone, right? can be excessive. Anything else? Shopping.
TV watching.
TV watching, especially now, right? Okay, so are they important? They may be until they get excessive, right? So waste or excess is quadrant 4. Quadrant 2 doesn't scream at me, but is very important. This is the quadrant of productivity. Now let's talk about some things that fit into the quadrants, just to get a feel of it. So quadrant 1, what's the name of it? Necessity. In the quadrant of necessity, crises are there, pressing problems, deadline-driven projects, meetings, and reports. Those kind of things that scream at us, but are also very important. Quadrant 3, what's the title of the quadrant? Deception. In the deception quadrant, we have needless interruptions, unnecessary reports, unimportant emails or phone calls or meetings, and other people's minor issues. Okay, quadrant 4. Title again? The quadrant of waste. Trivia, busy work. Irrelevant phone calls, email and mail. Time wasters. Escape activities. How many of you have escape activities? Right? They're different for each one of us. Excessive TV, internet, and that relaxation doesn't mean relaxation, it means excessive relaxation. Okay? Quadrant 2, quadrant of productivity. Preparation, prevention, planning, relationship building, recreation, and values clarification. Now we're going to do a little bit of values clarification in the session. Okay, here's what I want to have you do. You all have poker cards. I want to have you look at your cards. Okay, I'm going to put you into 4 groups. So I'm going to have my aces are together, my black aces are together, my red aces are together. Okay, then the black deuces and the red deuces. Okay, so you're matching up color and number. Now the threes, I'm going to have the threes, the 3 of hearts is going to go with the red aces. And the 3 of diamonds is going to go with the black aces. Okay, everybody got that? Show your cards. Go ahead and get in your groups if you'll stand up with this. Then I'm going to explain exactly what we're going to do. Get into your groups. Now you can spread yourself out. You have the whole room to do this with. The 3 of hearts goes with the ace of diamonds. You can go with the red aces. Yeah, go with those guys. You do. Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yep. It's Kristen.
So we're in 2 groups?
Nope. So we're in 4 groups.
4 groups.
Sorry, I'm still writing. I'm being.
So the 2 aces, the 2 red aces will be together, and then the 3 of you will be together. Yeah. We're dysfunctional. So you can go with this group right here. Okay. So everybody has a team. That was a lot harder than I planned on it being. The cards normally work better than that. Okay, here's your assignment. Okay, quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, quadrant 4. Okay, you're assigned a specific quadrant. In the quadrant, here's I'll put them up here on the slide. Here's what I want to have you come up with. What are the feelings that you experience being in your quadrant, dealing with your stuff, just in your quadrant? How do you feel when you're there? And what are the long-term effects on your productivity, on your health, on your relationships? Now, these are not short-term, these are all long-term effects that they have on productivity, health, and relationships. So, how does it feel there, and what are the long-term effects on those 3 things? Okay? On your mark, get set, go. Okay, now choose someone from your group to be able to share with the large group as we go through this. Now you'll need to speak loud so everyone can hear. You guys are quadrant 1, right, Tracy? So would someone from your group, would you share what you came up with, feelings and long-term effects? Rachel, please.
So we thought at first it might sound good, but long term, we think you'd feel unbalanced, overwhelmed, stressed. You're getting burnt out because you're constantly on the go. You don't have any time to breathe. Your relationships are suffering because you don't really have time to kind of stop and spend time with important people, and ultimately you're not feeling fulfilled.
Okay, no positive.
No, we didn't come up with.
You didn't come up with any positive? Would there be positive long-term in quadrant 1?
There could be, is like, I think of like something as like, it could cause you to get something done faster, or something that needs to get done.
Now, it's above the line, right? So it's important, so we're getting important things done. So are we productive in quadrant 1?
In some areas.
Okay, in some areas.
Other areas would be neglected if you're always just focusing on the urgent stuff.
Okay. So there is, when do you hear from your customers?
When they're not.
When there's a problem, right? And even though we solved the problem in crisis mode, we still solve the problem. Are we productive? Long term? Sure we are. In a customer service, that's what our job is, correct? Okay, so there's positive in quadrant 1 because of the importance of what we're doing, negative because of the urgency being inflicted on us. The problem about quadrant 1 is we haven't created the urgency on our own. The urgency's dumped on us. And that's where the stress comes from. That's where we get into the negative stuff. So positive because of the importance, negative because of the urgency inflicted. Okay, let's go around like we introduced them before. So quadrant 3, Bethany, whoever's going to share with us, would you share with us what you came up with?
Yes.
Really loud.
So when we were discussing the feelings that we would experience, we mainly focused on the negative ones. I don't know if you're looking for some positive, but we were saying that we would feel like overwhelmed, probably irritable, especially like at needless interruptions or like pointless meetings because it's like taking away from the time that we need to do for like more productive things.
Okay.
And just like overall like puts strain on your relationships. You might feel resentful or annoyed with some people, and like your own like mental, spiritual, emotional health. At the end, you just feel like strained and are just maybe not as pleasant as you could be.
Okay, thank you. No positive?
There probably are some positives in there. Like I feel like you maybe not. So Mary gave this example of where the other day she was given a call of some people who needed some help moving some things out immediately, and it was very urgent for them. They made it sound like it was super urgent for her, so it was like the stressful thing, and it wasn't maybe like that important for her to get done, but it was important for them. So her helping them might have been a plus, right? Positive, where she's able to help them.
Okay, helping the other person, was it important, Mary?
Yeah.
So that moves it above the line into quadrant 1 now, doesn't it? Okay, but see, sure. So when we look at this, quadrant 3, I asked the group one day, they came up with all negative, and I said, would there be positive long-term in quadrant 3? And a lady hollered out, people like you. And I said, why did they like you? Because you're doing their stuff. I said, okay, so did they like you or use you? They used me. Then she was all fired up. She hadn't thought of that before.
Like I was saying, like it feels like you're on a treadmill, but you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But you still get the benefit of the exercise, but you're not moving forward.
Okay, we'll say that. Okay, thank you. Quadrant 4. Okay, Chris, who's ever going to share with us, quadrant 4, what did you come up with?
Okay, so our positive, we did come up with positives.
Okay.
That remember what you're doing. It creates stress and guilt and frustration when you're working on, like when you are doing you're relaxing, your time flies, you're not paying attention, you can neglect your health, you're munching, you can neglect the people around you, there's a last minute rush to get everything done that you just put off doing all of that other stuff. So it's like you're momentary relaxing.
Okay.
Backfires on you.
Okay.
So at the time, it might feel good, but everything just kind of goes away, and you have to deal with it later.
So your positive really is short term,
Exactly.
right? Rather than
That's
long
the
term.
It's the short term
Okay.
positive, and then the long term effects are
All negative.
all negative.
Okay.
Huge list to one little positive that we came up with.
That we overrid. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you. Quadrant 2.
That's us.
Okay,
We got the peaceful quadrant.
go Jared.
So, yeah, so I mean, I think feelings you experience, we talked about it, you do feel a sense of peace, a sense of calmness, a sense of happiness that you experience when you're in quadrant 2 because things don't feel on fire all of the time. So your productivity, you feel at the end of the day, you feel like you've prepared, you've done the things you wanted to do, which is a good feeling. I think for your health, it's less stressful, so you don't have. I think you tend to sleep better.
Okay.
You're less stressed, and it's just. I think overall, it's a much better place to be than the quadrants. It's not realistic to be there all the time, but it's a good feeling when you are there.
Okay, excellent. Where do you want to live? Quadrant 2, right? It's pretty easy to see that the best return on investment by far is quadrant 2. If I can't be in 2, where do I want to be?
4.
But quadrant 1, right? Because that's the other one that gives me positive return on my investment. You come up with all these negatives here and say, where do you want to hang out? Here, right there. Okay, so if I can't be in quadrant 2, then I'll be in quadrant 1 because I'm still dealing with the important things. All 24 hours of my day is spent in one of the 4 quadrants. Agreed? Okay? If this gives me the best return on my investment and I want to spend more time here, let me give you a quick example. 7 hours of sleep for me is which quadrant? Is it important?
It's probably 2. Yeah.
Okay. Is it urgent?
Yeah.
Generally not, right? If I'm getting my regular sleep, then it's not urgent, right? When does it become urgent? 72 hours later, I haven't slept, my system shuts down, my body goes comatose, and I'm driving. Now I'm in crisis management mode, right? We're in quadrant 1. Okay, all my time fits into one of the 4 quadrants. If I want to spend more time in quadrant 2, because this gives me the best return on my investment, where must I steal from? 4 and 3.
Can't really steal from one.
I can't steal from 1?
Well, I suppose if you plan, we have these many birds.
Okay. If I take a little bit of time, if I steal time from 3 and 4 and put it into 2, doing preparation and planning and prevention, what happens to some of the crises in quadrant 1? Yeah, they either go away or they're minimized. They take less time to do them, right? So the goal is to steal from 3 and 4 and put it into 2 so that we spend less time in 1. Now, will you ever get out of 1 all the way? It won't happen because a lot of it you have no control over, right? So let's focus on the control issue. Here's one of my favorite models. It's called the control continuum, okay? Artwork. In your notebook there, draw a large rectangle. Now, you don't have to write as many words on this. Thank you for being in your groups and participating on that. Okay, the control continuum, large rectangle, and then would you draw a line from the lower left-hand corner to the upper right-hand corner? Label the lower left-hand corner no control. And label the upper right-hand corner total control. So let's set the room up as the control model. This wall will represent those events that you have absolutely no control over. This wall will represent the events that you totally control. Let's start on this side. Share with me 4 or 5 examples of events that you have absolutely no control over.
Car crash.
Car accident involving someone else. Now, I may have some input if it's me, right? But other accidents, no control.
Children,
In what way?
just because they're having accidents or they're having emergencies or they get hurt or they need us. There's things that
Okay. Do we influence them at all, though?
we can. Yeah.
So you're saying no control over children.
Maybe some of their emergencies.
Okay, now how about an infant? How much control do you have?
Zero.
0? Who provides for their survival and their safety? Yeah, nourishing. Okay, so when they're child, as they get older, right? When they turn teenagers, totally on this wall.
So natural disasters.
Natural disasters, no control. Certain illnesses. Okay, so we focus on no control. Share with me some words that describe how you feel when you're on this wall and have no control. Helpless. Frustrated. Stress. Come over here. Frightened. Good words. Do we like to feel these words? Not unless we're masochists. Geez, I hope I'm over on this wall. I can feel all these words, right? Where's the self-esteem factor over here? It's in the basement. You know the sad thing? A lot of people live their lives a lot like the cross-eyed discus thrower. They don't set any records, but they keep the crowd alert. Oh no, here comes Jared. He's out of control. Let's hide. Now, do you like to be around people who are out of control?
No.
Don't they inflict all these words on us? Angry, frustrated, stressed, helpless. Yeah, we don't like to be around people who are out of control. Is there any sense getting upset over these events? Do we?
Yes.
We spend a fair amount of time being upset over things we have absolutely no control over. So what's the appropriate response? If the weather's bad outside, what do I have to do? Prepare in advance. Leave early. Dress for it, right? So in the lower side here, on the left-hand side, we write the word adapt. Where there is low or no control, there has to be high adaptability. How many have ice skated before? Was your first time on skates a controlled event? How many of these words did you get to experience? All of them. Did you add any? Pain, broken. Yeah, a lot of those things, right? Yeah, we don't like to be out of control. Okay, I'm gonna, as we shift over to the total control side, let me pick on 3 of you. Bethany, can I use you for this exercise? Mallory? Jake? Okay, I'm gonna share with you a word, and I'm gonna have you say the word and then spell it. Say it and spell it 3 times, and then respond quickly to a question. So Mallory, I'm gonna start with you. Is that okay? Okay, let's see. Do you remember the Dick, Jane, and Sally readers, the books? Did you ever read them when you were a kid? Any of you remember those? Okay, they had a dog. What was his name?
Spot.
Spot. Okay, I'm going to have you say Spot, then spell it. Say it and spell it 3 times, and then respond quickly to a question.
Spot, S-P-O-T, spot, S-P-O-T, spot, S-P-O-T.
What do we do when we come to a green light?
Stop,
A green light.
stop.
A green light.
No.
Just checking on you. Okay, just checking on you there. Okay, Bethany, you ready? I think so. Okay, James K. Polk was our 11th president. I'll have you say Polk, then spell it. P-O-L-K. Okay, so say it and spell it 3 times and then respond quickly to a question.
Okay. Polk, P-O-L-K, Polk, P-O-L-K, Polk, P-O-L-K.
What do we call the white part of the egg?
Yolk. No, oh my goodness. The white part.
The white part, yeah, what do we call the white part of the egg?
The egg white.
The egg white. Very good, very good. You got it. The white, you call the white part the white. Okay, excellent. You ready, Jake? Newton discovered the law of gravity when an apple fell out of a tree. I'll have you say tree, then spell it. Say it and spell it 3 times and then respond quickly to a question.
Tree, T-R-E, tree, T-R-E, tree, T-R-E.
How many of each kind of animal did Moses take on the ark?
2,
How many?
2.
No, Moses didn't take any. It was Noah. Now, I could have hollered Moses. Jake wouldn't have heard it. Why? Because I conditioned him to focus on the word, right? He said he got Mallory, almost got Beth, and he's not getting me. Now, do we allow other people to condition us?
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of times we allow that to take place. So the effects of conditioning, we want to break away from that. Now, let's get over here on this other wall. Okay? Share some events, 4 or 5 events that you have total and complete control over. Events that you totally control. What are some? My attitude in a given situation. Events you totally control. Being on time to work. Now, are there things that the traffic ever play a part in that? But what time I leave for work, I have total control over, right? Okay. What I do to prepare, right, Elizabeth? I have control over. Okay. What else? Total control.
What I eat.
What I eat. How much I eat of what's available. How much time I spend playing games. What games I play. Right? What do we come back to over here? Us, right? See, the only thing we have total and complete control over is ourselves. Okay, share some words that describe how you feel when you're on this wall and are in complete control. Confident. Secure. Accomplished. Content. Happy. We like this wall, right? Good stuff on this wall. Where's the self-esteem factor over here? It's really high. On the right-hand side, up by total control, will you write the word? I got my slides out of, okay, let me come here. Got my slides out of order. Choose. Where we have total and complete control, we choose what we're going to do. Now, let me share with you, we talked about conditioning. Let me share with you 2 effects of conditioning. Let me go back here. Number 1, would you write these down? I'm going to have, now this is lots of words on this one, but I'm going to have you write these down. There are events we can control. There are events we can control. But we believe we can't. There are events we can control, but we believe we can't. Okay, Jared. If I were to tell you that if you would be over here at the airport this afternoon at 2 o'clock, all you have to do is show up at the Delta ticket counter, write it to, there'll be a check made out in your name in the amount of $500,000. Would you be there at noon?
I'd be there at 11:30.
Okay, when are you leaving here?
11.
11, right? Yeah, right now, right? I'm out of here. I'm still, bag this training, I'm out of here, right? Okay, so you humor me a bit. You stated the training, we wrap things up, and you get headed over to the airport. Traffic starts to thicken a little bit as you're going across I-80. You don't pay a lot of attention to it because you're spending this money in your mind. All of a sudden, traffic comes to a dead stop. Cars in front, along both sides, behind, you're pinned in. Oh, of course I have to look at my phone now, don't I? I used to look at a watch, right? So I checked the phone on my the thing on my car. Oh, it's 1:15. I've got 45 minutes. This is going to clear out. I've got this made. 10 minutes later, beads of sweat start to break out on your brow. Nothing's moved. So you turn on the radio to hear the traffic report. This is Edward, your eye in the sky. We have a lumber truck rollover. All lanes of the freeway are full. Estimated time of cleanup, 2 hours. That's a helicopter, by the way. Are you still going to be at the airport at 2?
How many miles are we talking?
Couple. How many are going to be there at 2 o'clock for $500,000? How do you get there? Run, walk, crawl, right? We're going to do whatever it takes to get there, right? When the need is big enough, we'll take control of events we think we have no control over when the need arises. You've all heard of on the news, a grandmother who at the scene of an accident lifts up the front end of an automobile because the child is pinned under the car. Grandmas don't pick up cars unless the need is big enough. Once the need arises, we'll take control of events we think we have no control over. The second effect of conditioning is just the opposite. Now, if you don't want to write the whole thing in there, that's okay. You can kind of just put the arrow and switch the two words. There are events we cannot control, but we believe we can. There are events we cannot control, but we believe we can. Shout out some examples.
For children.
Children. Anything else? We think we control, but we really don't.
Other people's attitude.
Other people's attitudes, other people's actions. It all comes back to others, doesn't it? A lot of times, do you ever feel like you control what other people do? Do you control it? No. Okay, so now we're over on this side and we have total control, so we're going to choose. Now there's a lot of space in between here, isn't there? On that wall we adapt. On this wall we choose, because we have total control, no control over there. All in between, would you write the word influence in the center? All in between we have varying degrees of influence. So one of the first things I did after going through the training is I wired it in my brain to ask this question: how much control do I have in this situation? And what influence can I have? Made a difference on my behaviors in certain situations. Okay, now, there's a flip side to this as well. And I've learned this as I've gone through. Now, this is how we always taught it in the original course. But on the top part of this, above this horizontal line, is where we're proactive, right? Where we're making things happen rather than letting them happen. Below the line is the opposite, which is reactive, where we're letting things happen and just responding to them. So let's talk about these three things. If I'm proactive and I have no control, I adapt. If I'm reactive and I have no control, I whine and complain. You ever been there? Don't have any control over it, we'll whine and complain about it. Okay? When I have total control, instead of choosing, I procrastinate. Any of you ever been there? Yeah, I have total control over this, but I'll do it later. So procrastinate is the reactive mode of the total control. Now, all in between, instead of having influence, if I'm reactive, I manipulate. I do things to try and get other people to do stuff for me or to change things around. Okay? So we have to look at the control continuum. Where are we and how should we respond if we're proactive, if we're making things happen rather than letting them happen? You okay with the control continuum? Yeah, I always have to ask myself the question, how much control do I have in this situation? If I don't have any, I just have to adapt to it rather than whine and complain about it. Okay. Hiram Smith always, this was one of my favorite definitions. Hiram came up with the definition of inner peace. How many would like to experience inner peace? However you define that for yourself, Hiram said, inner peace is having serenity, balance, and harmony in our lives, achieved through the appropriate control of events. Now, I defined appropriate control as those things that we should control. Inner peace is having serenity, balance, and harmony in our lives, achieved through the appropriate control of events. How many would like to experience inner peace? Right? We just have to control the things that matter, the most important things. Okay, so the key to this is planning, right? Planning is predetermining a course of events. It's setting up things. These events that we've talked about, what are the ones that are most important to us? And planning is setting those in line so we can do something about them. Here are 3 excuses for not planning. In fact, you give them to me. What are the excuses people give for not planning? There's not enough time, right? There isn't time to plan. That's one of them. Any others? Jake?
I forgot.
You forgot? Okay. That's not one of the top 3, but that's a good one. What else?
I don't know, maybe they don't know how to plan.
Don't know how would be part of it. You bet. Here's the 3 that they came up with, the top 3. The first one was this: planning limits freedom. If I have a big plan, I can't respond to things. I'm locked into this track. The second one, putting out today's fires, takes precedence. I'm too busy with crisis management. I don't have time to have a plan. Besides, it's not going to matter because the crisis is still going to arise and I'll have to deal with it. And the last one we came up with, there isn't time to plan. Is there time to plan? How much time do you have in your day? How much? 24 hours? How many have more than 24 hours in your day? How many have less? So I'm assuming we all have the same, right? Okay. So in that time span, we have so much that we're going to do, but who chooses what we do there? Ultimately, where's the choice? With me, right? I have to choose what I'm going to do. So the key to control is the planning process. Guidelines for effective daily planning. Now we're just going to go through these really quickly. If you just want to write key words instead of the whole thing there, feel free to do that. We want to review our values and goals. Now we're going to identify values and we're going to set goals in the next segment. So we're going to go into that in detail. We want to review what we've decided is most important. We're going to set specific daily tasks. In the process, we're going to evaluate how much time we have to do those tasks and how much time the tasks take. Well, that's a tongue twister. How much time the tasks take. Anticipate obstacles. How many are guaranteed interruptions every day? Guaranteed, right? They're going to be there every single day, so you might as well plan on them being there. But we're going to figure some of that time in our planning process. And the last one is we're going to prioritize tasks. We decided that we can't get it all done, so what has to get done is the most important, and identifying what's most important is the prioritizing process, isn't it? Good? Okay. I'm going to have you write a commitment. Okay? This is just for you. Okay? This is a commitment you're making to yourself. You're not making it to me or anybody else. This is a commitment you make to yourself. I will spend 10 to 15 minutes every day formally planning my day. I will spend 10 to 15 minutes every day formally planning my day. And we'll walk through the planning process in some detail. It's not a detailed process, but we'll go through it so you understand it easily. Now, in the planning, because we can't get it all done, we have to prioritize. Prioritizing is identifying the appropriate value and order of events. So how important are these things and when should I do them? So we're talking about importance and sequence as we walk through. Here are the 3 steps in building what we have in the Franklin Planner, the prioritized daily task list, right? People call it a to-do list. We call it a prioritized daily task list. The acronym for that, PDTL, PDITL. That's what I've always referred to. That's my PDITL. That's the prioritized daily task list. Okay, first, we want to make a realistic list. If I only have 2 hours to do stuff today, it doesn't make sense for me to make a list of 20 items on my task list, because what I don't get done today, I'm going to have to rewrite tomorrow. Okay, so the time versus the task is very important there. Step 2 is to give a value to each item. Again, the value is importance. And then, anyone want to guess what the next thing is? We've given it value, importance. What's the next thing? Give it a number, right? Give it order. So sequence as well. Importance first and then sequence. Now we're going to go through it in detail a little bit later on in segment 3 when we talk about the mechanics of the planner. Well, you guys are good note takers. Okay. A, B, and C. How many have done ABC prioritizing before? Now you guys should be doing that on a regular basis, right? When I learned how to do that, it was very simple for me. So A's first are high value. I realize that on this projector that doesn't show up as well. Can you all see that? A for high value. These are vital and they must be done today, no question. Vital must be done. Now again, I always ask myself the question, if I don't do this today, what do I lose? Okay, and if that loss is significant, that's an A for me. B, medium value. These are important and they should be done. So A's are vital, must be done. B's are important, should be done. Anyone will guess what the C is? What's our value on a C? Low? Yeah, it's low value, so if I get to it, fine. These are optional. They could be done. Now keep in mind that vital does not equal important. Vital does not equal urgent, right? Does vital equal important? Yes, it does. I'm just throwing that out there and make sure you're with me. Okay, vital doesn't equal urgent. And you can swip that around. Urgent doesn't always mean that it's vital. Urgent just screams now. How'd you do on the pictures? We did the matrix, right? The time matrix with important and urgency. We did the control continuum. Okay, let's finish with this one for this segment. R. Alec McKenzie, who wrote the book The Time Trap, which is one of my favorite books, he said urgency engulfs the manager. Now he was talking about, we're talking about time managing, so we inject the word there. Yet the most urgent task is not always the most important. The tyranny of the urgent lies in its distortion of priorities. One of the measures of a manager is the ability to distinguish the important from the urgent, to refuse to be tyrannized by the urgent, to refuse to manage by crisis. How many of you in here are leaders? Now you may have title of leader, right? But how many of you are leaders? Are there leaders who don't lead? Are there people who are not titled leaders who lead? Right? So leadership is a choice, not a title. Okay, so we're talking about here, the key to leading is knowing the things that are most important and being able to do those. So the rest of the session, we're going to talk specifically about that. Okay, so the roadmap, when we come back, we've covered the time management, event control. When we come back, we'll focus on the productivity pyramid.